All right, so we're in the shop today working on classic cars. Got the fan on. It's going to be 95 or something to get today in Portland, Oregon. Blistering hot, hot as a pistol. And we're working on this 81 Honda Accord, which is a pretty cool classic car. But that is not the focus of this video. You might see this in an upcoming video, so be forewarned. That's a pretty cool car, and there's probably a video coming on that. What we are working on is something that got towed in overnight, and I don't know. I just don't know. So there's Stella. She's really hot. She's laying in the cool grass, looking at me, sniffing the air, and wondering what the heck is Dad doing working on a Comanche. This is a 1988 Jeep Comanche truck, sort of rare now. This one has kind of a weird backstory. You can see it's pretty beat up. Even more so, it looks like the grandfather loaned it to the grandson, who hit a deer here with the brush guard. And the brush guard saved probably some of the impact, but some of the impact has impacted the Comanche. And since that fateful day or night the deer hit the truck, it hasn't run since. It's been sitting for 2 years. So I've got to sort through all these janky connections and see what I can make work. I mean, there's just wires everywhere. Every now and then I get one of these and I don't know what to do. Oh, look at that. There's always something. So I've got to scan this thing. There's just wires everywhere. You get a theme for those cars. Look at that vacuum leak right there. It's an open hole. I don't even know where to start on this thing, but I got to see if it has spark, see if it has compression, and we'll go from there. Let's just take an overview, because this is kind of a rare truck. It's a Comanche. They only built, I don't know, not so many of them. This one's pretty beat up. It's got mud tires on it. It's the Pioneer edition. Of course, it's got modified taillights, a pretty beat up tailgate, a hitch that's held on by, oh man, no license plate. Kind of the most jankiest hitch bracket I've ever seen. That isn't going to tow anything. Well, we got to fix this up for the guy. We got to make it run. I won't be satisfied until I get it going. Let's take a look at the inside. Oh yeah, so they towed it here, so they had to disconnect the drive line. So there's the drive line parts. It has an old style dash. Let's see if I can focus in on that. Let's just give the key a whirl and see what happens. I don't think anything's going to happen. Well, it lights up. Turn it over. That's good. That's actually pretty amazing. This does have AC, an aftermarket radio, and an automatic transmission with a transfer case. The seat's pretty well beat down, and the paint is completely shot, but that's okay. We'll make a runner out of it. We'll do a little video on this thing once I get through it a little bit and sort it out and see if I can make it run, make it fire, make somebody happy. Okay, so we are a little farther along on figuring out why our Comanche won't start. It still will not start, but at least I'm satisfied that I'm making some diagnosis, some progress on diagnosis. We have a fairly new battery, seems to be in good shape. I've cleaned up the negative and the positive terminals, got rid of all the winch wiring, still finding little bits and pieces of wires that go, I have no idea where. I've gotten it reliably to turn over, but we still have no spark. We have a radiator hose here, it's about ready to pop. We have wires and things all over the place that are disconnected. I tried squirting a little starting fluid down into the intake manifold through the open vacuum port and still got nothing. We have a no spark condition. I have tested the fuel pressure. We do have fuel pressure, which usually means that when you turn the key, the computer is sending some information to the fuel pump. So the computer's probably not bad. So I got to figure out why there's no spark. I've tested the starting relay, which is this big box right here, and that seems to be fine. I've checked the fuel pump relay, that's fine. Still no spark. I found one of these connections bad on the coil, or it was pulled out. I thought that might be it. Still no spark. I think the next thing to do is to check the distributor cap and the rotor. They don't look too bad. I'm going to pull the crankshaft position sensor, which is in the bell housing. It's a real bear to get to. I'm going to pull that out and see if that looks bad. I can test it. If that's not it, it's got to be the computer. So we are working on our Comanche. It's also got layers and layers of alarms. Here's another wire, beautiful wire. It has 2 alarms that don't work under the dash. We've got an old Viper. There's another one up in here. There's just wires all over the place. It's possible one of these alarms is dead and has cut the spark, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Hitting a deer and then all of a sudden not running. It's like the mice have been in here. This is quite the rig. If you look underneath here, we've got quite an impactment of dirt around our fuel filter. This thing's been ridden hard. It does have a Kelly converter, but no muffler, and of course no drive shaft in it. Well, we'll see what we can do. See if we can make it run. Got to keep working on it and get this old Comanche Pioneer back into ship shape, if that's possible. Okay, so we're still working on our Comanche. No start, no spark, and if you can get beyond the radiator cap that isn't even seated, much less has any coolant in there, and the wires that are twisted for the fuel injector, what do you call that, the ballast resistor, and if you get past the vacuum hose that's leaking, we're making our way over here to the crankshaft position sensor wiring. And if you look at that wire, that is burned pretty badly. I'm going to replace that. I'm making a diagnosis right here that I really hope that's what it is. It didn't fry the computer, I hope. But this is the main wire that goes to the crankshaft position sensor, and this rested on the exhaust manifold, it looks like, and it's just completely melted. I think it's safe to say that needs to be replaced. Maybe that'll make it start. Of course, the sensor is buried back on top of the bell housing, right on top where it's super hard to get to, but it's got to be done. All right, so we're coming to you from the shop this morning, and you can see the weather report is cool and rainy. In the middle of August, this is really unusual. Temperature dropped about 25 degrees and it started raining, so it's 70 degrees and raining for August is really unusual. And Stella is not sure what to think about it. But there still may be a squirrel to be had, because squirrels like rain, right, Stella? And they're probably out eating their nuts. Go get them. You should go get those squirrels. All right, let me just say, you've never lived your life fully unless you've struggled to change out a crankshaft position sensor in a Jeep, Cherokee, or Comanche, as we're doing today. You got to have an extension that's about 4 feet long. This is the old sensor. I got it out. You can see the wires are exposed right at the transmission. It appears to be the original one, and they're burned pretty good right here. I'm really hoping this is it. This is the new sensor. It's quite a bit shorter, but this one seemed to be too long. Now I got to put it in and cross my fingers. It's up on the bell housing, through the mud that falls in your eyes, on the driver's side, just above the front drive axle, or the drive system, the what do you call it, front drive shaft, but way up in there on the bell housing. I'm going to struggle to get this one in now. Okay. All right, so this is kind of a weird deal. It is now, what is it? Almost May? It's April, middle of April, 2021. Stella is lounging on my asphalt. It's warm out today. This truck right here has been sitting on my lot for about 6 months, maybe more. I'm embarrassed to say that, but it's a friend deal, so it's not like a paying customer. I don't know. I don't feel pressured to fix it because it's a friend deal. So it's a 88 Comanche. I did a few videos on it when it first came in last August and found it difficult to figure out what the remedy was to make it start. If you're looking at the truck now, you notice that it doesn't have a winch on it or a bumper or a headlight. And that's because it hit a deer, and my buddy who owns it came the last couple of days, been working on it with me, trying to figure out why it wouldn't start. Most unusual thing, but I just got to do a little overview to kind of remind you what's going on. It's an older Comanche. It's been sitting here for a while. I guess it sat at his grandson's house after he hit the deer for a couple of years because they couldn't figure out how to make it run. I've got the dash pulled down. The computer is laying on the floor down there. Can you see that? I got to put that back together. The drive line's out. The seat is pretty wiped out. It's a good old truck. Here's the parts. So the brush guard and the grill and the bumper are all in the back now. He wants to do some four-wheeling with it, but you can't do that unless it runs. And I have to say, it frustrated me to no end because I could not figure out why. Is the key in this thing? Why the computer had no power. Took the computer apart, checked all the wiring, and I'll just go through this here really quick with you. It's kind of a fun deal. I'll get the hood up, and there's a prop rod right here. Okay, so we got the hood up. It's a 4.0 straight 6 with an automatic, and it has some issues. We knew that. He kept thinking that, well, we both agreed that whatever the problem was that kept this thing from running was right in this area. This is where the deer impacted the truck. And since that time the deer hit the truck stopped running. I figured it had to be in this area. And this is where the central wiring hub is for the truck. All the relays, the coil, the battery, the alternator, the distributor, all the wires that go to everything are here. And of course, this truck has a lot of suspect wiring. I don't know if you can see that wire down there. It's the sheathing has flaked off. The battery was split when it came in, so I knew something happened. The coil had corrosion on it. I replaced the crankshaft position sensor because the wires were burned because it had rested on the exhaust manifold. I thought that would be an easy fix. That was not it. But I suspected the wiring or the problem that was causing the computer not to get power was in this area. And sure enough, it didn't really lend itself to me. This is the main power for the computer wiring, and I know it's just tied together. It's supposed to be on there, but the problem was right here all along, and we fixed it yesterday. It wasn't until we got the bumper off that we could see that the bumper had pushed this what do you call this, header bar back into the frame, and it cut two of the most important wires that go to the computer and to the distributor, I believe. So once we figured that out, the truck runs as good as it does, and its mystery has been solved, but I would have never thought to take the bumper off to fix this thing. So we found a couple other wires in here that had been either messed with or tampered. We had to add on to because of the damage, but I guess that's just what you do when you're completely desperate. You just keep digging. Now, since it's been running, there's other issues we found. One is that the PVC system is all messed up. It doesn't have some vacuum lines. The fuel lines that go back to the tank are spraying fuel. It needs some work, but we've got the truck running. And so with that, I'll go get the keys and we'll see if we can fire up. Stella, my puppy dog, is loving this weather. Aren't you, Stella? You love being warm. Okay, so back to the truck. Got the key in my hand. I do have to give my buddy credit. He's the one that found the wires pinched behind the bumper. Just assumed that this was just a headlight loom and didn't think about that, but that's what it is. So let's hook this thing up and see if we can get her to fire off. Wouldn't be a good video unless I could start this thing up for you. Come on. Key is bent. Okay, I can hear the fuel pump. Come on, baby. Come on. Oh, she tried. There we go. Here's the runner. So we're going to go through, tune her up, give her a new life, and he's going to do some body repairs. I don't know. He's going to do something with the front, fix it, chop the bed, make a bobtail or something ridiculous, whatever. That's not on me. But feel great that we got it running. And like I said, it was a combination effort. I can't take all the credit. Sometimes that's just the way things go. Now we got to move on to the next car that doesn't run. Oh.